So along the same lines, you're looking at a ton of deals. Can you give our listeners an idea of just how many deals you look at to find one that works? Because I think a lot of people look at 4 or 5 things and say, oh, the market's overpriced.
So we basically work with a team of folks on the acquisition side at this point that look at a ton of deals, probably a dozen deals a week or so. Most deals we don't even bother to underwrite, to be honest with you, because we can look at them and we go through a quick analysis process where it's what's the story. If there's not a gap between current rents and future rents, there's not going to be a way for me to increase the value. If I can't increase the value, there's not a whole lot of opportunity for me to give strong returns to our investors without assuming, oh, the market's just going to get better. And we don't like to do that. So if I can't force appreciation out of the gate, I already know I can't create the value that I feel comfortable with. So I'm not even going to bother underwriting it. Where's the property at? We have very strict criteria on where we're going to invest. So we take a look at that, and many properties don't, pass that muster. So there are a lot of things that end up coming into play. I mean, I probably have like 15 deals in my inbox right now, to be honest with you, just from the last day or two. So many of them they're not even worth putting, pen to paper on. But when we do find deals where the market makes sense, the story makes sense, that's where we'll dive in. And it takes a lot of them. I mean, we look at probably about 100 deals to get, maybe one that you feel good putting, maybe I shouldn't say one, maybe 5 where you feel good putting in a strong offer on because of the upside potential.
Yeah, it's a grind. I think most people, similar to cold call, and they give up, right? They give up after 1 or 2, and you got to keep going. You got to kiss a lot of frogs. So let's talk, you mentioned investors. Let's talk about structure now, right? So you did the Hermosa deal. Sounds like that was your own money, going back to that. Mm-hmm. You had the conversation with Bree. Were you right out of the gate saying, you know what, we're going to syndicate this? Or did you find 2 or 3 guys in JV? I'd love to, that's kind of like a black box to a lot of people. So let's start with explain the difference to our listeners of just JV versus, I'm going to syndicate, and then we'll go from there.
I didn't even know what syndicating was at that time. I knew I needed to partner with other people. I assumed it would be a JV. I didn't know what syndicating was. My vision was simply, if I found another 8 unit, to maybe go 50-50. So instead of waiting a year to invest, I could wait 6 months, or to, scale up, get a 12 unit, maybe a 16, 20 unit, something like that, and then be able to partner like that in a year. So that was my vision when I went down that path. What ultimately ended up happening is, again, you surround yourself with other people who are playing the game at a much higher level, and your eyes open up. And the key is you can't unlearn something. If I tell you there's a path for you to invest in, 100 unit type complexes, well, now you know what's possible, especially if I give you the blueprint on how you do it. And I actually had a mentor that I worked with, and I watched that person grow their portfolio. And that really changed it for me to say, oh, wait a minute, you can do that? Or, well, how did you do that? And they start breaking it down and say, well, here's how you do it. You can partner with other people. There's a syndication process. Here's how you can raise money from people. Here's how you structure it. Here's how you put the deals together. So once we kind of understood those things, it really opened it up. And ultimately what ended up happening is, when you're looking at a deal and you're taking 100% of the profits, well, a lot of deals look pretty good. When you look at a deal, mm-hmm. You're going to give 50 to 70% of the profits to someone else. Well, man, those numbers don't look quite as good when you're using the same metrics and same underwriting, because you don't want to buy, let's say a 10 unit. You don't want to buy a 10 unit property and make $2,000 a year on it. Right. And that's the thing. And that's probably being nice, but that's the part where it's okay, wait a minute. How much time and money am I investing? How much energy am I investing? And what am I getting back for it? Because to buy $1 million property and basically make $1,000 on it, that's probably not the return you're really looking for. And that's not the way to scale and to build a business that allows you to change. And keep in mind, for me, the reason I was scaling this was I wanted to insulate myself from being let go from my job. I wanted financial freedom. I worked for General Motors when they went bankrupt. I worked for an advertising agency, and that agency ended up going bankrupt. So I had been at 2 companies that went bankrupt when I started my investing journey. So when that second one happened, I really had to say, okay, how do I make sure this my family is not impacted. And I had my first child at that point. So you also have to look at just the raw numbers, like how much money am I actually going to make? And, if you're going to do a deal, make sure you're doing deals that allow you to get the best return on your investment.